So hello story lovers, what's up and welcome back to Africa Folktale and History with Neze. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and begin to give this video a big thumbs up. Before the arrival of Christianity in Idemili, eastern part of Nigeria, the people held the sacred python, the Eke, in the highest regard. Eke was no ordinary creature. It was the living symbol of Allah, the earth goddess, who watched over the fields, guarded their homes, and brought blessings to the land. The people believed that as long as Eke roamed Idemili, their village would flourish. Every year, the village honored the Eke with a grand festival. Under the moonlight, they danced, drummed, and shared stories of how Eke had protected the village in times of danger and blessed their fields with abundance. Eke was both feared and loved, a reminder of their connection to Allah and the spirit world. To harm the Eke was unthinkable. It was considered an offense against the earth itself, a rupture in the sacred bond between the people and their goddess. Unlike other snakes that got attacked and killed on sight, the Eke was more like family. The Eke watched over babies for nursing mothers, letting them go to the markets or the fields with peace of mind. When left alone with the little one, the Eke would gently coil itself around the baby, protecting it, and when the mother returned, the Eke would uncoil, slipping away quietly and leaving the baby completely unharmed. The Eke was welcomed at all important gatherings, weddings, burials, and masquerade festivities. When Eke appeared at these events, the people showered it with praises, bowing in respect, coating its body in fine powder, and leaving offerings of food at its paths. It roamed freely, moving in and out of any home it pleased, and not a soul disturbed it. Eke, in turn, never harmed the people. They lived in complete harmony, honoring the bond that existed between them and this sacred creature. Into this world returned a man named Obiora. Though born in Idemili, he had grown up far in the north, where his father had moved to work. In that distant land, pythons were seen only as animals, dangerous creatures to be avoided or driven away. When he came back to Idemili as an adult with his wife and his young children, he knew nothing of the village's customs and felt that their traditions were out of place. Obiora was a farmer, practical and grounded, with little time for what he saw as superstitions. The villagers welcomed him warmly, eager to reconnect with a man that they had known as a child. But they soon sensed his resistance to their beliefs. Eke blesses our land and protects our people, the elders would say, explaining the reverence that they held for the python. But Obiora would wave them off, smiling. "It's just a snake," he would say, shaking his head. "Hard work, not a snake, is what makes the fields grow." One day, while walking by the river, Obiora saw an Eke basking in the sun. The python lay peacefully, its scales glimmering in the light. To Obiora, it was nothing more than an oversized snake. Scoffing at the thought of its power, he picked up a heavy stick and struck the Eke down. When the villagers learned of what he had done, they were horrified. Elders confronted him, faces filled with sorrow and anger. "Do you realize what you've done?" they asked. "You have harmed Eke, the spirit of Allah, the guardian of Idemili." But Obiora only shrugged. "It's just a snake," he repeated, unfazed. "Nothing will happen." But as the days passed, the village began to suffer. After Obiora did what he did, he returned to the city with a sense of triumph, dismissing the elders' warnings and the villagers' pleas. For him, the snake had become an inconvenience, a mere creature undeserving of reverence. But soon after his return, his life took a dark turn. His eldest son fell mysteriously ill. One moment, the child was full of laughter, chasing his friends in the yard, and the next, he was bedridden. His body weakened by a fever that wouldn't subside. Despite countless doctors and all the medicines he could afford, the boy's condition worsened until one quiet night, he took his last breath. The death of Obiora's son struck him like a blow, but still, he dismissed it as a tragic misfortune. Not long after, his second son began showing the same signs: a sudden fever, unexplainable chills, and a frailness that seemed to drain his spirits. Obiora's wife was beside herself, weeping day and night, clutching their son as if she could shield him from an unseen curse. Obiora now couldn't escape the nagging suspicion in his heart. He remembered the elders' words, the reverence with which the village had treated Eke, and the harmony they had shared. Could he have disrupted something sacred? When his son's health grew more critical, Obiora's desperation became overwhelming. He took his family and journeyed back to the village, hoping for answers, unable to ignore the suffering that his family and the village seemed to endure alike. Returning to the place where he had once been defiant, he now felt like a stranger, a man burdened with guilt. One evening, when the sky was heavy with dark clouds and the village was shrouded in a somber quiet, Obiora stood before the council of elders. His voice trembled with fear and regret as he asked, "Old wise elders, what must I do? How can I fix what I have done?" The oldest elder, his face lined with years of wisdom and sorrow, looked at Obiora for a long moment. "Eke is not just a snake," he said softly. "Eke is the spirit of the land, a protector, a bridge between us and Allah. You have severed that bond." The elder's words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. He continued, "To make amends, you must honor Eke once more, just as the village always has. Only then can the spirits be appeased." And so they directed him to the chief priestess, the only person who could intercede with Allah on behalf of the village. She was a powerful, wise woman, rarely seen except in times of great need. Clad in her white robes, her face painted with sacred symbols, Obiora, she began, her voice steady and strong. You have done a grave wrong. To strike down a care is to wound the earth itself. Your actions have brought suffering upon Idemili. Only a proper burial can right this wrong. Iga kwariri eke iburu. You must bury the python that you killed. The priestess instructed him to give Eke a proper burial with all the respect and ceremony reserved for a human. He was to buy a casket, organize a lying in state, buy cows, prepare meals, and pay for a funeral. You and your family must cry and mourn it as if you were burying a family member. Only then might Allah show mercy. With a heavy heart, Obiora followed the priestess's instruction. A small casket draped in white clothes was prepared, and the villagers gathered solemnly. Obiora led the procession, his sick child held close by his wife as they followed the casket through the village. The once proud man was now brought low, his remorse evident as he wept openly. His wife and child joined him in sorrow, and the villagers mourned together, singing songs of grief and whispering prayers. At the burial site, Obiora knelt, placing the casket in the earth. He poured liberations, offered kola nuts, and begged forgiveness from Eke and Allah. As the ceremony ended, the priestess raised her hands, chanting to the goddess, and slowly a breeze stirred and a soft glow rose from the ground, a sign that Eke's spirit was finally at rest. In the days that followed, the village began to heal. The river ran clear once more. The crops regained their green leaves, and Obiora's son recovered from his illness. The people rejoiced, grateful that peace had finally returned to Idemili. Over time, Obiora's story became a part of the village's lore, a tale recounted by elders around the fires on moonlit nights. Parents would tell their children of the power of the sacred python. They reminded each new generation that even when unseen, Eke was always watching, silently guarding the balance between the people and their land. And up until today, in many parts of Anambra and Imo states in eastern Nigeria, including my own village, it remains forbidden to harm, strike, or kill the sacred python known as the Eke. If someone does so by chance, they must hold a proper burial in its honor, or else they will face serious consequences. Dear story lovers, what are your thoughts and reactions to this true life cultural practice? Drop all your feelings down in the comment section. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's story. If you're new here, you are hearing our voice for the first time or coming across this channel for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications so you can be alerted whenever we have a new story. Give this video a big thumbs up and drop all your comments down in the comment section. It's Africa, Folktale, and History with Neze. And I will see you guys in our next one. For now, bye.